Hello everyone, this is Ninja DC joining in for not for another React. This is another a discussion of the Star vs. the Force of Evil series overview thingy. We finally getting around to it. Yay!
Woohoo!
Alright. But join me again for this is going by random Skype order. Day
Hey everybody, Merry Christmas! It's Christmas, yes! And this is interesting now that we are done with all of the My Little Pony stuff for now.
Yep.
We have Star versus things, and I'm looking forward to it. Yay, next.
Next up, Jen.
Hello, everyone. This is Jen. Excited to, I can't talk. Excited to discuss our favorite moments of Star Versus. Yay!
Alright, and then Carlos.
Good day. This is Good Metal Gator here, Carlos here, presenting ourselves to possibly one of the last videos on the subject of Star Versus. A show that had such great highs, some lows, but a lot of pitter-patter in the middle, or meh. Hopefully this conversation will be a rousing success for those who want to highlight the brilliance that Star possesses here. Also see its pitfalls as well. So I can't wait for us to get down.
Alright. And then also possibly joining in post editing some of second opinions.
Yay!
Second opinions.
It's opinion, yeah.
Alright.
Great.
But I guess to start this off is, like I sort of went over in the pre-chat discussion, quick fire, is what do you feel like Star vs. the Force of Evil's legacy will be in terms of, like, do you think this will be a memorable, like, show in a decade, or do you think it will just sort of fall to the wayside? Or why do you think, what aspects do you think, how do you think of, like, its staying power will be?
Alright, can I be the first one to mention this?
Oh, yeah.
Alright, I think this will possibly be one of those shows that'll be forgotten on the wayside, because, like, this show's already following the success of, like, Gravity Falls, like, sort of like a similar style. I feel like with, like, the anime, like, a magical girl-esque, like, explosions and such, like, even with, like, that sort of flavor to the show, I don't think it's gonna be, like, remember as much, like, if people might confuse it with, like, say, Amphibia and or the Owl House, like, when the Owl House comes out. But
well, to be fair, just like I feel this will be more memorable than, like, Amphibia.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Amphibia is like the reason why Amphibia probably would be, like, less like I'm not saying, like, it wouldn't be, like, more memorable. I'm just saying, like some people would just bunch it together with, like, the shows with, like, a similar style, you know.
You're saying, like, yeah, now I get what you mean. You were saying, like, it would be not really lost, but sort of clustered together with other similar shows. It's actually a very valid point.
Yeah, that's the main reason why, because, like, Amphibia, like, I saw a few episodes of that, and it's like really did get a lot of Star versus vibes from it.
Yeah, that actually does. Well, that on one bright side, that does fill me with hope that Teen Titans Go won't be remembered in a very similar way, with all the other knockoffs of that show being grouped together.
I mean, we still have Thundercats Roar that's possibly coming out.
Thundercats Roar! Yay!
Thundercats Roar!
Please end my suffering, for I am one of those 2011 fans.
Going to my thoughts is, like, I hate saying thrown by the wayside, like it's forgotten, but I feel like Star Versus will be not in the same memorable, but sort of in the same route as, like, Gargoyles or something like the second, like, sort of like an Ed and Eddie, or it's like the second tier, like, Cartoon Network cartoons. Like, say the really big ones like Powerpuff Girls, what's its name? Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Lab, and Samurai Jack. Like those are like the all-star, like memorable.
Jack.
But then there's right after that there's the very good shows that aren't really as famous, but like they're cult favorites. Like one of my favorite shows, Courage the Cowardly Dog. I feel in the same, and that's where I feel like Starburst will probably fall in that same category. Like it will be memorable, like especially if you're a cartoon fan. Like there'll be a lot of scenes that'll be referenced, especially in the internet era. Like there'll be a lot of like scenes that'll be like random theme potential for like decades with Starverses, especially with the way Disney's going. Disney becoming the next Saint Olga Academy. But I am something negative. I mean, I feel the show had the potential. What I mean, like to be bigger, but it only got 4 seasons. It's one of those things. Like if it wanted to be even more legacy, it sort of I felt needed it, but like Disney didn't give it the chance.
Yeah. It's good for me to see.
Jen, any thoughts?
Yeah.
Do I think Starverses will be remembered, or do I think it'll be left to the wayside?
Or somewhere in between, because like I think wayside is a little harsh of a term.
Yeah.
But,
well, let's see. That's a good question. That's a pretty loaded question. Do I think it'll be remembered or on the wayside? I'm not sure, honestly. I mean, I personally would love it to be remembered, because I would love it to be remembered, really, because there's so many great points of it, and it seems it's one of those shows that I think puts the magical girl genre. It does some things that are a little different to the magical girl genre. It kind of plays with it, and in some cases, it kind of turns it on its head. And there are plenty of wonderful moments in it, so I think it should be. I really think it should be remembered. But yeah, because Disney is like, you got to pump out stuff every year. It's always possible that it gets, put under the wayside. But that's a question, honestly, for the fan. That's really for the fandom to decide. It's really for the start. The answer is in the fandom. It's up to them whether they want it, it's up to them to remember it, to keep it from falling to the wayside. But me personally, I don't know whether there's always a risk. I don't want to say, oh, it's remembered, or yes, it'll be in the wayside. But me personally, I hope it's remembered, and I hope it's remembered. Honestly, I know I will definitely remember it. But it's up to the fandom itself to really keep it alive.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I say is like I want to go into like the next section. Like we can actually we're gonna when we come back to the end of this we can reverse or not revise but sort of our final thoughts. We can also come back to the idea like, do you think its legacy is? But before we get there, let's just go over the reasons why it won't have a legacy, and the reasons, not necessarily purely negatives, but also just reasons that like are holding it back from being a, say, love it or hate it. Like Steven Universe is going to become like one of the shows of the decade.
I was about to say when it was my turn.
Like you want to go? Oh yeah.
It's okay.
Go off your thoughts before we move on to the next section.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I think it's going to be remembered. It already has a cult following, almost like some of the series that you said with Courage the Cowardly Dog and stuff like that. We have weird series that have strong going power, and I'm also thinking about like. It's one of the more pleasant animes we have with magical girls. Thinking about Madoka Magica, for example, or like as you said, like there's always the bigger series like Steven Universe or My Little Pony. Of course, the fandom of My Little Pony is going to be really strong and remember stuff, so we don't have the things with that. But the thing is, like, we also have to have something to go to after you know, when all said and done, like,
Mm-hmm.
and I think like, yeah, this Star Versus is a good series you can go to and watch if you're done with all of your, you know, main stuff like Steven Universe and My Little Pony and all of the other good stuff that we have out there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like it's a good to throw in the mix, or how to say that. And I think it's going to have some sort of staying power, but not as much as, for example, Steven Universe or My Little Pony.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, I'm going to, like, I have a few reasons why I think it will be more memorable. I'll bring up when we get to that
Yeah.
section. But also I'm going to go over reasons why I don't, like, it'll be holding back. Because, trust me, I kind of might come out sounding a little negative, but, like, I generally do want the show to be remembered.
Yeah,
But
me
I
too.
I do recognize
yeah.
that there are parts that are holding it back.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even come in thinking about this, but, like, Carlos brought up a very good point. Like, I feel part of one thing that will hold it back is there's a lot of similar shows coming out like at the same time.
Yes.
Like Amphibia, there's going to be Owl House, which actually has a lot of creative talent from Starverses. And also even Steven Universe, like, which this is sort of I wouldn't say a spin-off, but like it's in the same sort of stylistic vein of Steven Universe.
Yeah.
And like that's why I say it could fall into the same, it could sort of become less memorable by basically falling into that category. That's sort of hard to say right now because that category is still being defined while we're literally in the moment of like trying to figure it out. And it's not necessarily a bad category too, because like having a lot of good shows of like Star Versus coming out is not a bad thing at all.
No, that's true.
Like
you're saying, like, if you have the choice between, for example, like the new series of Samurai Jack or Star Versus, which one would you pick? I would pick Samurai Jack. I'm sorry.
Well, that's what I'm saying before, where I was saying like
just your personal preferences. I don't know.
No, like not even personal preferences, but like Samurai Jack is one of the most not infamous but just famous shows. Like there are signature like every decade of a cartoon has like the 80s was like He-Man and She-Ra.
Yeah, but maybe Star will come to that point, but it's not going to be in like several years.
Yeah,
I think.
But that's why I feel like I said Star I feel will be more of a cult classic, like Gargoyle.
Yeah, like I said, yeah.
But going on to more specific negatives with the show is like I think one of the negatives that could sort of hold it back, besides it should have had more than 4 seasons, but that's a different point. But it's actually something that way back when John brought this up to me when he was still watching Reacts, because remember he actually was doing Reacts with Star Versus with us when we started that.
Cool.
Actually, were you ever in a React with John?
Remember.
Oh wow, I don't remember either.
I don't know. I am first.
No, I don't think you were.
No.
He was like one of the original like voice actor, like we're doing the voice things, and as he span off into the sort of discussion scenes. Yeah, he's from Scotland. That's why we were sort of used to the time zone difference before.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like going into his thoughts he had, because he sort of fell off his interest with the show, but like he had a very valid point, which is the season 1 to seasons 2 through 4, there's a very different tonal shift.
Yeah.
Season 1 is very much more a classic cartoon formula, where it's like I literally like 90. Try that example, like I would say, I have an example coming into this, but it's more of a classic sort of like slice of life, sort of wacky shenanigans show. Not like wacky shenanigans, but like it's very episodic. It's very like every episode is very different. Like it's also very like just crazy at times, more crazy. And then like seasons 2 through 4 moved on to more of a drama show, sort of more comparable to like Avatar or the Voltron show, where it is more of a drama, like a lot of interpersonal conflicts and all that. which necessarily ain't a bad thing, but there is a very distinct shift. Like, gosh, I'm trying to think of a good example. I guess like original Star versus were very more comparable to the original Looney Tunes, if that makes sense, or similar
Yeah.
episodic shows.
Yeah. Let's see what you're
Besides
saying.
Toppy.
Yeah, besides Toppy, yeah.
And like I could see how some people could like not necessarily like John. He didn't like that. He really liked the show's formula and all that in season 1. Like and like and like a lot of shows do like I want to make this a topic video discussion for another day. It's like there's a lot of shows that do have like I call the second season shift where like the tone of the show shifts from season 1 to season 2 and beyond. Even My Little Pony Friendship is Magic had this.
Yes.
Compared to season 1 to season 2, and like it became a lot more aware of its adult audience in season 2, and like more referencey, and like that sort of trend continued, and even grew.
Yeah. Expedited.
Yeah.
Exponentially.
Expedited?
Multiplied by a million.
But but I would still say even with like season 2, like it was still trying to do like a whole slice of life comedy act up until like the mid-teens. That's when it started to completely shift focus over to the drama, and it wasn't really like a pleasant switch either because like it's basically
it was like puberty. It was a little awkward and
so hard,
a little awkward and emotionally unstable.
Yeah. And I will say for some of the negative that I have with the show, there is some of the filler episodes that are disgusting, like outright disgusting, where I don't understand why they're part of the show, why it needs to be a Star versus episode. But I also have that with some episodes in My Little Pony, but that it's not as much as it is in Star
Talking about
versus.
the Weird Al Yankovic episode, aren't you?
Yes.
No, that's actually okay.
Oh, really?
I like that. But there's the pie. Where there's this disgusting pie. I don't remember what episode it's called.
I think that was like season 4. Like
yeah, but
about pies.
I really think that's disgusting, like that blubbery pie stuff, and also like there's the Philomena stuff. And no, before I start rambling on about My Little Pony episodes, there's like Star versus episodes that are even worse.
Wait,
than that
wait. You were talking about the pony episode with the pie?
Yes, with Rainbow Dash plummeting herself in a yes. Like I love the first part of that episode. It's brilliant, like the first half of it. The rest of the episode is just ruined for me because it have to be that disgusting. And there's episodes in Star Versus where it's disgusting from start to finish. It doesn't stop. It just goes on and on and on. And there's like a handful of these episodes where I'm just like, why? Why did you do such a thing? Like I'm all for like there's allowed to be some disgusting things. It's just like I guess I'm not that good at that sort of things. But yeah, that's one of the only negative things I can say about the show, actually. Also, I think like actually the animation and the characters and everything is good and really nice figured out. Yeah. But I wouldn't recommend it to my like 8-year-old kid. Wait until they were like 15 or something. I don't know. Like, sure. Here you go.
So, Jen, do you have any sort of negative thoughts or
about Star?
Yeah, like negative or things that you thought could have been improved.
Negative. If I had anything that's not like crazy negative, not like really negative. There wasn't really anything I really hated in Starverses. The only thing that was kind of like I don't know, a little kind of like, a little bit was ultimately how all of it ended. But at the same time, I thought, okay, this could be a completely new concept too. I liked it that in a way that I did like the build up with Marco and Star and such and all the things they had to go through and everything, and how in a way it kind of like ended up bringing their worlds together.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like that's how Star ends. You now created a complete new world. You now completed a completely new world with with the Muni and Earth all together and then just credits after that. I'm like, that's it. But then I'm like, oh, okay.
Viva singing.
Yeah, kind of. And I'm thinking like, yeah,
Yeah.
you could almost like go on volley off and have another series based on that, like
Yeah, that's true.
how this new world is going to function or so. But at the same time, you don't want to drag it down what made it good. So I was kind of like a little bit about it. I liked it, but I wasn't it wasn't as satisfying as I'm going to say how MLP ended.
Yeah.
Actually, gosh,
although MLP was a little bit more satisfying than Star Versus, just a little bit, just a little bit more. But even MLP, there was only one. I only had one complaint. I only had just one tiny complaint about the ending. Why didn't they blast out that statue as soon as they started the star? Why didn't they give him the star key?
No. They should be allowed to be free and ride the earth one more time.
No.
Sure.
Evil.
Come on. Like.
No. Evil. They should have been tossed over the nearest cliff and splintered into pieces. But that is all. But that's all I will say about that. Back on track here. But that's my only complaint about the MLP thing. But still was a little bit more satisfying than Starvert than Versus. Yeah, that's about it. Just a little bit how it ended, but at the same time I can't complain too much about it.
I actually like Star Versus ending better than My Little Pony's ending.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because like being like apart, the two worlds being a part of each other, like respecting each other, and like everything being like good, and yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's really strong message though. But I guess My Little Pony also have that, just in other episodes.
Well, yeah. They're good endings, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
But I get where you're coming from as well, yeah.
It's satisfying in different ways, but I don't know, just something about. I guess at the end it seemed just a little abrupt. I guess maybe
too quick.
Just a little bit.
Yeah,
we didn't get an epilogue.
Yeah, we would have loved the epilogue episode.
Yeah,
like My Little Pony have.
Yeah.
Because like that episode is the most perfect ending for any show ever.
Agreed. And thank goodness they had the epilogue. I'm glad they had the epilogue because it was so perfect. It was so perfect, so wrapped up everything just perfectly. And yeah, I agree with you, Day. I think yes, that would have been great to see. I think that's really, you know what? I take back what I said about it needing another series. I take that back. All it needs is just all it would need is an epilogue episode of maybe in the future. Yes. Okay, you see how the new world of I'm just gonna call it Muni Earth.
Muni Earth, yeah.
The Mew Earth or whatever it is. Mew Earth. There we go. That's it. Mew Earth.
It's inhabited by Mews from Pokemon.
Exactly. Hey, why not? But how it works, if there's still like, if they've made progress, if they haven't, and there's still some kinks to work out, how Star and Marco's relationship progresses or whatever. just if they had an I think that's really all it needed. If it had a little epilogue episode or whatever, or maybe like a years later segment or something.
Yeah. Just
I
give
thought it
us a
would
little
wrapped up. I
sneak
would have
peek.
been wrapped up. Yes, it would have been wrapped up. I think a little bit better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
this
totally agree.
That brings me. I was just bringing up, like, I know when the fan, if you want sort of an epilogue thing, there's like a fan thing, which is like, there's one fan called Morning Mark. He does like a Tumblr thing, and like he does a lot of show accurate art. And one of his spin-off comics he did, like after it ended, was basically, I don't know if it's still going on. It's basically following in the future, and it's like basically following Marco Polsi and gosh, what's the one other Eclipse's daughter's name?
Meteora.
Meteor. Follows like Meteora and Marco Polsi. Let me grab up a let me grab an image of it.
That sounds amazing, because like if we're talking about like that ending in where it's the epilogue ending, I will agree with you that that's the best ending of any anime that I have ever watched, actually, I will say, so far.
Right.
And I watched a lot.
But yeah, let me see what's going to be. I guess before we go in, Carlos, do you have any more negative thoughts?
I would like to say that, like, I really felt like some of the plots that we've taken with the show, of like the development of like Star and Tom's relationship in season 4 didn't have a good resolution about it, because we were left absent without Tom development at the very end, explaining why he turned away from Star. That personally is like, okay, I was already heartbroken with the end of like the end of Marco and and
Jackie. Oh yeah.
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 Still very much hurt about that. Then the show tried to push a whole Marco with the shrub girl, and I'm like, no.
Kelly? Is that her name, Kelly?
Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly.
Yeah.
We all knew that was not going anywhere. Yeah.
No, even going into a relationship, they basically acknowledge. It's like, yeah, even going in, like, they acknowledge, like, yeah, we're sort of not boyfriend girlfriend, but just sort of hang out together, because we both don't have any right now. Yeah, I wouldn't say friends with benefits because it's a kids show, but like, it's like
still there's a lot of stuff in there that's not
no
meant
benefits.
for kids. That's for sure.
But yeah, that's sort of like the thing where it's like, it was a very casual relationship that they both even knew when going in, like, yeah, we're probably not going to stay long together, but we have nothing better else to do. But
yeah.
But,
yeah. I'm going to say like also the beginning of season 2 is by far still the worst part of the entire series.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily worse because there are good things in it, but there are also a lot of like bad things. It's a very like very steep up and downs in that with that section. But going sort of also into like, I think I didn't bring it up, but like one negative I have is like just sort of the production release of the show. I feel like it's nowhere near as bad as like the production problems were nowhere near as bad as like Korra, which got completely screwed over by Nickelodeon. But there are aspects of this that you can tell were hurt. Like basically the end of season 2 is really the start of season 3, but like the Star versus movie, which is really just like the 4 episode dealing with the Follow Muni. That really should have been the end of season 2, but it's beginning of season 3, which just feels awkward, the transition. and then also there's other like this weird things where like it got a little rushed at the end sort of thing. But yeah, those minor production thing, but again, nowhere near as bad as Korra. Korra got like so sabotaged by the production team, like the studio. All right, but I guess with the negatives though, let's go on to what are some of the reasons why this show though will be remembered or like will be a cult classic or maybe even something more than a cult classic.
Okay, can I just first say this? Can I start with a capital V ending with the with an S? What is that? What word do you think that would spell?
The what?
Do it.
The villains.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and let's start with Mr. Criminal number one, the one that headlined the entirety of Star versus the Force of Evil, that being Ludo.
Oh yeah.
I
And
like
how?
Toffee more.
Oh wait. We'll get to best villain later. Right now,
Yeah, I
right now
know.
we're dealing with Ludo, aka the fandom darling, who's grown up from such an incompetent villain into being like an equivalent to. You want to know how I compare Ludo to
Mm.
Shigaraki from My Hero Academia?
Oh, yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Basically,
Literally,
no, you're saying it.
a worthless villain into such a grand schemer. Like even if it was thanks to like the help of Toffee, like in season two, like Ludo was able to like conquer the Muni capital thanks to their efforts and being able to
Mm.
use magic for like his own means, and even then for like his redemption story with like his with his sibling Dennis.
Mm.
That in itself was just quite wholesome and it didn't feel like a retread of like say Zuko's redemption arc from Avatar because you want to know how many times that path has been used all the time by a lot of these shows.
That's true. Yeah.
But before we get to Toffee, also because I feel that's sort of a big point onto itself. I've also wanted to discuss like also like in the later season and all, it's not necessarily a villain, but like sort of society and like how racial tensions are sort of the big bad guy of the show in the later seasons. Like, yeah, Mina Lover is sort of the like head of that, but like it's sort of the ideology behind her that's sort of the real villain, which is sort of a very interesting take for a kid's show.
True.
Yeah.
True. Very
Absolutely.
very risky on that move, but at the same time kind of smart. Like I was talking to my sister today. I was talking to my sister today about how we were watching the movie Sing, and then we started talking about how we showed it to our mother, and she absolutely just loved it. She doesn't like a lot of animated anything that, but then again, she's older, but she loved the movie Sing. But that goes to the fact she loves like the voice competitions, singing competitions and such. So I think that's why she liked Sing so much. But then we also showed we're talking about when Zootopia came out, and and how Sing and Zootopia kind of came out kind of close to each other, but yet are both successful in their own rights. We talked about how Zootopia kind of they both had their funny moments, and they both had the kind of serious moments too. Zootopia probably a little bit more because they kind of touched. Oh, yeah. They had a very smart way of touching upon things like racism and such.
Yeah.
And my favorite scene of that was when someone was saying to this, I guess, jungle cat girl or whatever, it's like, go back to the desert. Or, I was like, go back to the jungle or something. And she says, but I live in the savannah. And I thought, oh, smart. Very smart. And yeah,
actually,
Mina's got an interesting way too, and it's also kind of smart too, but very risky and the way she was portrayed, but also kind of smart in how she was portrayed too.
Just sort of going off topic quickly before we get back to this. You brought up how like Sing came out the same year as Zootopia. That actually reminds me right now in anime, like there's a lot of like anthropomorphic shows coming out right now, which is sort of weird but sort of funny. Like Gretzko came out like last year as its season 2 and all that coming out this year. Then there's like this, gosh, I think it's in the Savannah or something like that. Like it's some animalish themed like sort of slice of life show. And then there's also a isekai that's basically set in a furry world with animal. Then there's also obviously Beastars. And then there's like Triggers releasing their own like animal anthropomorphic other animal thing next year. It's just like this is sort of weird coincidence all at once, but it's sort of entertaining at the same time.
They're all furries now. Everybody's gonna turn into furries. Oh my god.
Japan. They were infected.
They've been infected. The furry curse continues. Woo!
I think it was in Japan before it came to us, though. Maybe.
No, like it's sort of interesting. Like they had like cat girls, yes, but like in terms of like full anthropomorphic designs, that was very Western.
It's debatable.
Like, no, like that was a very more Western like theme because like even going back to Robin. Like,
not if you see some of the older anime style that they have and some of their I can't talk about that. I'll stay quiet. Well.
All right. Anyway, I guess just to keep it back on topic because Starver. We can discuss that off topic afterwards.
Yeah.
But going back to like Star versus like the highlights. I guess we might as well get on to the big villain of all, though, Toffee.
Yes.
Toffee, aka like also the Dexter.
The Dexter of the Munins Society.
Yeah, I think Toffee is just such a fascinating villain just because he wins. Like at the end of season 1, like he sort of won. He sort of loses at the end of season 2, sort of 3, but it's really season 2. But even at the end of the day, like his ideas, like the corrupted were sort of right, where magic is just too much of a tempting evil.
Mm-hmm.
And like it just sort of sets an unfair balance.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
now
like, we're like
all of a sudden I want an alternative universe where Star goes evil. Like after the humans and humans become one, she just loses it. I don't know. Is that too much? That's too much.
It's kind of like
I guarantee I know there's fanfics of that.
Yeah, there's probably.
So weird. Like we don't have much thoughts to say in Toffee besides
no, like I just like I really like him because he keeps you guessing. Like you never know when he's coming back, what he's going to do, how big his extent of power is, and all sorts of stuff. Like we're going to watch it in one of my favorite scenes, I guess. So like I don't know if I can spoil that or not, but yeah, it has to do with Toffee and like him being really intimidating. Where I thought like for sure like now they're in the deep end, like there's no way for coming back from this.
That actually reminded me of one of the thoughts why Toffee is so memorable is I forget a lot of the script brings up like how villains in TV shows, especially kids cartoons, they often like they're clever but at the same time incredibly stupid. Like it's like they never go through like they're never smart about the thing. Like they have all the powers in the universe, but they just sort of leave themselves vulnerable. They're like, oh, we'll just ignore this. Toffee's the one that like he actually does the smart thing every single time. Like he's constantly planning ahead. He's actually doing the reasonable thing. It's like, oh gosh, there's like I'll have this random example. Just like insert whatever cartoon where like the villain like evil, like I'm gonna go into my evil dialogue thing, blah blah blah. Like he's like, you got me monologuing, like sort of stuff. Toffee is just does like, no, I'm just actually plan and like have everything do like he's like an actual person, like an actual sort of CEO got into like a CEO of like in the real world, I got isekai'd into like a villain in like a cartoon. It's like, yeah, let me just be reasonable and be very logical about all this.
Yeah. I think like the only place where I've seen him monologue is where he is like that big. He's taking all of Star's power and he's like this big blotch of dark stuff. But there he already think he won, so like it makes sense for it to be there. But yeah, he's a good villain. Yeah, he's intimidating.
And smart too.
Yes. But I must admit, what makes me like the show really much and different from other shows is like the growth of all characters. Not only Star, but everybody like Tom and Marco, and yeah, even the background characters have some growth via the show, and also yeah, the villains of course has their. I just think it's a really clever, yeah, clever
Right.
show. Yeah.
Right.
Actually, just going off of that. Hey Carlos, are you free to talk about because you had thoughts about Toffee?
Yeah. Like Toffee is very much like the suave criminal who also has like a very much a hidden crazy side.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at like his life throughout, like he started out like as like a punk rocker rebeller at the end of season 4. Like looking at like his past, and then we continue onward to like him being like a hard duty like bound warrior for like for his race.
Mm-hmm.
Then leading up to like him wearing like a business suit to him being like a big magic goop monster at the end of his life.
That's true.
Like yeah, it's like there's this transition that we see in the multiple seasons just shows like how vicious like and how much like his influence like carries out through the entire show, even if he was only there for like quite a little bit of time between the end of season 1 to like the very beginning of season 3. Like his life is definitely there.
But yeah, going back to what Dale was saying, like in terms of like what I feel the show would be for, besides Toffee, because again, Toffee will be remembered just as like the evil villain that actually does the logical stuff.
Yeah.
But going on to like the other thing, which I feel this like will be like the very memorable aspect of the show, which like Dale was bringing up, is like the drama. Like I said, the show had a tonal shift from seasons 1 to seasons 2 through 4, where like in seasons 2 through 4, well at least the second half of season 2 forward, it became very much a drama show and like a very mature drama, like in terms of the interpersonal relationships, not just romance, but also just like friendships and like relationships of all kinds. And you see characters grow with that. It's like a very mature show. Like I wouldn't even say kid show. I feel this is a more of a PG-13 thing that develops into.
I will totally agree with that. Yes.
Like in terms of like you've got more dark concepts, like I said, the racism, subtle like evils of racism issue I brought up. Just so like the side characters, like Tom was like one of the most brilliantly handled actually characters, like where like he's just such and like he is like such a stereotypical like he's literally the demon ex-boyfriend, and he becomes one of the most lovable characters in the show.
We all have such an ex-boyfriend.
And then there's also there's other side characters which we're forgetting. Like what about Hekapoo? Hekapoo was awesome. It's like we forget about her.
Oh yeah,
Hekapoo. Oh yeah,
love Hekapoo.
Yeah, Hekapoo was
love
great
until
season 4.
Hekapoo was really good. Loved Hekapoo.
Yeah, like it's like all that traction for the Hekapoo Marco ship.
Yeah.
Markapoo. Markapoo. Maybe the worst name ever. Worst shipping name ever. I'm sorry. I just can't. I can't do it. Like it just sounds like something like if I don't know that something someone could tease Marco with and be like, oh my sweet Markapoo.
Sure, yeah. Actually, also something I just remembered why I really enjoy watching this series in general is like you never know who is the villain. Again, like there's some of the characters where you're unsure if like they're going to go to become evil or if there's something else brewing around. Is like there were some things that I haven't realized, and all of the sudden it just hit me, like for example with the council. Yeah, I was just like really surprised about all of that, and like Star's mom and all of that good stuff. Like I know like she's not evil, but it's just still excuse me while I'm thinking a little about this. It takes a little bit. Makes you think.
Well, I say no. It actually goes to another point. Is like there's long stretches of the show. I wouldn't say like there's a season where there's no like villain, but like there's long stretches of like where the villain is basically taking a backseat, where it's like basically they're going about their sliced daily life, just doing stuff, trying to deal with that, and then like the villain's plot will be introduced into that subtly over time, and then like it's like an interesting aspect compared to a lot of like cartoons and all that, where like the MLP usually does like the villains at the beginning or end of the season, but like in terms of like the villain, like there's a main villain for the season, but like he's often not. They aren't the main villain from most of the season. Like it's just
and that actually also makes him more creepy, though. It's like Jaws; you don't see him until it's too late.
Right.
Or else do we have like villains like Mina? But I must admit, like I like Toffee more in that sort of a sense of having villains.
Like I said, Mina really wasn't the main villain. She was just basically the visual representation of like the racism and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
Which, like again, Toffee was better, and that was like this better villain because of that. But still, to be fair, like Toffee is one of the most memorable like villains in like cartoon history. Period. Like I was saying, that's really why he will like this. One of the big reasons the show will be remembered. But going also into dramas, like I feel we sort of skipped a lot, but like the romantic relationship between Star and Mark will also I feel be one of the remembered parts. Like I said, going into dramas and all that, because
how frustrating it was to wait for that resolution. I was just like, why?
Like there are like that's like I don't feel it's like going quickly back to negatives. Like there are some points where it's like what's keeping them not together is like just like okay, they should have got together by now sort of parts, but their development into a relationship that actually is good. Like it's very realistic, and like it is that aspect is good. Now it should have probably happened in season 3 or the end of season 2/3, the movie thing. Yeah, probably by then, but it's still that like their development, like it was good. It was a very mature romantic development for like a cartoon kids show.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yay. Yep.
But any other good memorable things before we move on to some of our favorite scenes?
Well, our favorite scenes are memorable.
Yeah.
Well, I said favorite air quotes. Like this is, I felt too much of a short notice to give you your favorite scenes.
Well, I was gonna say the whole thing about season 4's plot line about Eclipse Meteora and the great Monster Daddy.
You mean Globgore?
Yeah. Globgore.
Oh yeah, that actually brings up another aspect of film that will help with this make the show memorable. Is this show is a very like frequently is a big parody / very ironic with like traditional like fantasy tropes. Like I'm just grabbing paper that fell, but like Saint Olga the Academy was like a big parody of Disney culture as a whole. And then Globgore's like sort of ironic twist. It's like oh, he's a big evil villain. It's like no, he's just a big giant cinnamon roll. After Eclipse got through him.
Yeah.
There was one I forgot. There is one little like one negative thing that kind of drove me nuts about the show, and it was Glossaric.
Yeah, Glosaric. Yeah.
That's the really.
He's not.
I
One of
admit,
my
I
favorite
just
things.
remembered that was the only real negative thing about the show that I
Yeah.
kind of didn't care for.
I will agree with you there, Jen. He had
And
his
especially,
moments, but he was
Yeah.
mostly annoying.
Yeah, and also,
he
and
was
at
very
the
much
end
the
of it,
most neutral present.
and then at the end of it, when it was just Glogor, he kept hitting Glogor, and then all of a sudden you find out like who. At the end, he stops saying Globgor and then just acting just stupid, and he just acting like an animal or some stupid, and and then all of a sudden he's back to normal. Like, what the heck did you do all that for?
Yeah.
It's like, what did you do
I don't
all
get
that for? What was
either.
that for?
Yeah, I don't get that either.
It's very equivalent to like Discord at the final episodes. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
really? Why?
Yeah.
Discord made sense. Like you
Yeah.
actually get this, you get the idea behind it. Globgor is just like, not Globgor, I'm Glossaric. It's just
Glossaric.
very much, he is a troll. Like,
Yes, he is.
let's see. But I guess any other final big highlights before we move on to some of our favorite scenes?
No. And did you wanted me to start with second's favorite scene or mine?
I guess you can, just toss out seconds.
Sure, seconds. Mm-hmm. So am I going to start or anybody else going to start?
Doesn't matter.
Just post it in the chat, and then we'll all get the video up, and then we'll watch it together, React style.
If it could work, sure.
And I'll edit it and post it so it is like our reactions to it. Just sort of. All right.
There's seconds, I hope.
Video. All right, everyone go to 00.
Wait a minute.
Hang
Hang
on.
on. It's in the
Yeah.
chat. Here it is. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Let me see. I can't open it. I won't be able. I don't know if I can open it or not.
You can?
But wait. No, I can't. Wait. Maybe I can. Never mind. There's the link. Okay. All right. Let's try that. Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Carlos, you have it up?
Gator! Gator!
A few seconds.
Gator.
Gator!
You.
There's a roast out here for a gator.
There's a roast out here for the gator.
Trying to, get him here for food. Nice. But yeah.
Let's see. All right,
Hold up. Yeah.
But from what I've seen already, this is going back to season 1 stuff.
Yeah. This one is season 1 stuff.
As I said, that's what from what I've seen of it.
Mine is going to be from other season, but yeah.
Whenever he has to grab a video playing device. Because the way I think he's using his phone and all that, so that might be what he's doing.
Yeah. I think it's going to be really interesting, and we already have a lot of Steven Universe and Star vs fans and My Little Pony fans out there. So I don't think the series that will have a problem in finding fans or getting fan stuff. Right. It's more do I really want to watch this? We have, as I said, Steven Universe and all over shows. What do I want to see more?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Or just go back and watch all of the old 80s series again.
Mm-hmm.
You could do that.
Don't worry, they'll be all remade.
Oh, like, I don't think my favorite show is going to be remade. Also, like, it's going to be really dark. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, they'll remake it just like Teen Titans Go formula.
Oh,
I hope not.
See, like, I don't think like it could work that way. Maybe. Actually, like,
I'm not saying it
was
works, but I'm saying they could do it.
Yeah, but I'm just like, it was Saber Riders. I don't know if you remember those, but yeah, Saber Riders was one of my favorite things when I was growing up. Well, it was really dark. Actually, I saw some of the older episodes not that long time ago, actually, and I was like, oh, it starts with like people actually dying, and I was just like, yeah, geez, what did I watch when I was younger? This is a little too much. And also like the SWAT cats and all of that good stuff. Like, yeah, I don't know how they would. Maybe they could make. I don't know. I hope like they will keep it in series, that they don't want to try to make it a in real life version movie of, for example, like SWAT cats or Mask Crusaders or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would really. I don't know if I want that. Like, if it was a good animated creation, I guess SWAT cats could work. I don't know. Gotta get some of the big boys on that though. Pixar or something, I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. Like, who would you hire if you like somebody was just like, here's all of the money in the world to make a live version SWAT cats movie?
Wow.
Geez. Yeah, who would I get? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody probably from the Pixar or other animated studios.
Right.
And just be like, here we go. Hold on tight.
I'm here.
Oh, there you go. Welcome back.
Oh, welcome back.
All right.
Okay,
so
so
the episode
still up at 0 seconds.
What?
Well, we're up for like at 0 seconds.
What?
Are we at 0 seconds?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
0-0. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone ready to watch
Yeah.
Second's favorite clip?
Yeah.
Thing?
Yeah.
It's not playing for me. Hold up. Hold up.
But definitely we need a
Okay, this clip. Okay.
All right, ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Gunmetal, are you ready? Yeah.
I'm ready.
I'm ready too. Okay.
Aaron, press play in 3, 2, 1, play.
Okay.
Dang it. Play button's not playing. Oh,
It's
no.
not?
Okay. Oh, never mind. It is.
Oh my god.
And he has a fat check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tooth Fairy shenanigans. Nice.
Pudding cake.
Oh no.
Ew.
Oh God.
Oh no.
Mhm. It's not a lot that she used that spell.
Yeah, there are a lot more random spells like in seasons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rainbow flare.
I haven't killed you yet. Rainbow Wall. Wow.
What? I don't know.
Yeah. Me cannibalism joke. Oh. Oh. Oh God.
So did Second say why that was his favorite scene or one of his favorites?
I know we didn't get to that, but I think it's because it's funny and like there's a good action scene like with them sword fighting. So
Oh, I'm not
I like
denying it's
that.
like funny and humorous. I'm just curious, like if he had if he gave a reason specifically why that was one of his favorite.
Well,
Because
he
again,
was
that's
on
what I
the
said.
way out the door, so he didn't get it.
That's what I'm saying. Like this brings up like a point I brought up one before. Like one of the negatives is like the tonal shift from season 1 to 2. Some people didn't like that. This is sort of the exact thing because like there's a lot of like scenes like this in season 1 that are just hilariously awesome. Like just so as random shenanigans happen. And this is a good example of one of those.
So anybody
Also,
else wanna go, or am I still cooking?
I'll go ahead. Can I go ahead and go because I will. I actually really, I really need to hurry up and get.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking.
Okay, so let me get mine here. Here we are. All right, here we go. Let me find it. Let's copy the tab and here and the paste. Okay. All right. This one is my favorite. Is my favorite clip.
Huh?
Okay, and I've got mine at 00.
Oh wow, it's loading really slow on my end.
Carlos, you loading it up?
Loaded.
Gator, come back.
Come back again.
Gator, come back. Do. Gator, come back.
Gator, come back.
Gator has come back.
All right. You got the episode up, Carlos?
Yeah.
All right. Everyone ready?
Wait a minute. Let me just close this one out. Okay. All right. Ready?
All right, everyone press play in 3, 2, 1, play.
Oh my God, it's Sean Schemmel.
I forgot that cube. It's terrifying.
Yeah, cube.
The fact that it's voiced by Goku is also something terrifying in its own right.
Oh yeah, I forgot that they had to do this. Oh.
Shadow Clone just do one more kickapoo.
Yeah, it's insane, that cube. Yeah. Oh, wow. I forgot how emotional this actually also is.
Oh.
Mm.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Oh, don't get trapped. Ooh. I remember I was not fond
Oh,
of
that
that
face is
one
like
with
classic.
snake hands. Yeah. And the argument for and against. Mm. That's actually also a horrifying villain. The cube.
Toffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh no. Wow, okay, yeah. Both emotional and hilarious at the same time.
All right.
Yeah, that is my favorite clip.
Yeah, we understand why. It's
My
both really good, hilarious, but also really emotional.
Oh yeah. It's my
Yeah.
favorite. I'm just gonna say what my reasons is, and then I gotta get off here real quick.
Okay,
But
go.
my reasons for that one being my favorite is one, it was the first time I'd seen Eclipsa I'd seen real emotion out of Eclipsa. She usually had this kind of like smarmy kind of look for the first beginning of it, and then during, and also the episode leading up to the trial, she seemed very cool and collected. Another addendum I liked of it was when Moon asked Eclipsa, "Are you sorry for what you did?" And not even unflinching, she was like, "No, I'm not." I love that too. So she's like, okay, she sticks to her guns, But also, she also at the same time kind of turned it in a very inventive way by figuring out asking what happened to her daughter, and then as you see, everything was revealed. A big old twist was revealed. So I loved the twist. It was the first time I'd seen Eclipsa visibly emotionally shaken, and not just that, you uncovered an even bigger plot and an even bigger plot of the Magic Council, just so maybe not just Eclipse is in the wrong, but also the council itself. And but that's another reason, number two, because it brought out a bigger, more subplot, and now as the way Star ended and everything, I thought about that. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it really tied it in perfectly. And then the final reason is because this was the episode, because of everything, it was the one that made me realize, oh, shit's getting real. This to me was really the turning point. This was to me the turning point in which, okay, there is a serious plot here. And it's the first, and it's from here, again, it gets real. And to me, I really start to see the changes in Star. From there, that's the point Star just gets more mature. She's not just, being a princess with a crazy magic wand and having fun and everything. She's realizing there is a lot more at stake, and what she what she thinks is not, and what she knows is not really the truth. And yeah, in a way it forces Star to grow up, and it shows that Eclipsa really has a heart. Star was forced to grow up, and the magical councils, and Gloucester concluded, they're all a bunch of dicks. So the magic had deserved to be destroyed in the end. But yeah, that's my favorite. That's my favorite episode.
All right, hey Jen,
Okay.
I'm gonna ask before you head off. I just want you to watch the one I have. It's not necessarily one of my favorite scenes, but it's one of the funny scenes.
Okay, sure.
All right.
So it'll be a nice, quick little thing before you head off.
Sure.
I think you'll enjoy it. All right.
All right.
Links posted. Also, just to give everyone a heads up, it starts like midway into the scene.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
the way
Do you
YouTube
know-
cut off scene. Yeah,
Do
so
you
just
have a
pause it when
time?
it starts.
Okay.
I think it's at, I'll click the link.
Because I have the same
All right,
problem
it's
with
at
like
135.
what I wanna
135
show.
should start. All right.
35. Okay.
All right. Everyone have it up?
Yes.
Yes. 135. You said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, mine starts at it starts at 135.
Yeah, it starts
have-
at 135.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay,
had
okay.
that shared.
Okay.
I shared the link at that, but it
Yeah.
auto plays. Everyone
Yeah.
Okay,
ready?
got you. Ready.
Yes.
Ready.
Press play in 3, 2, 1, play.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful
Macho
stranger.
Marco. Marco.
Ah!
Yes.
Oh.
Gosh damn, I forgot how much I miss her.
Heckapoo or Star?
Heck in this case, but both really.
I mean, for me, I was full on for the Hegapoo ship after Jackie Lynn. Nachos is the best steed. Oh.
Nachos.
Oh.
Ooh. Yeah.
But,
Adorable.
yeah, I just wanted to pick one of the funnier random scenes, but also that's what I feel what this show does well. This shows off is how we can go from just complete random humor, it's like abs jokes, to the very serious drama of him being gone for 16 years, and the following scene that's in the show where he forgets his password and just sort of deals with I've been doing something else for 16 years and I'm just coming back and this seems trivial now. All my other previous concerns. So it's yeah, that's how the show can go from humor to deep thought in like seconds.
Yeah, I agree with you. I
But
definitely agree with you. I almost forgot about that. You're absolutely right.
but I guess you need to head off.
Yes, I actually have to run there, but
Good.
this was actually fun, and talk to everybody soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, now Carlos, you have yours.
Gator.
All right.
Oh, jeez.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Okay.
that scene about like Haikapoo, like that was like the first scene of like, yeah, I was the same way as Margot. I was like, definitely a really cool gal. Why did the season 4 ruin her? Or basically cultured her character to having both likable and dislikable traits.
Well, the thing is, like, even at the end of the day, though, she was the only one that really redeemed. Like she was not really comfortable with the plan that went bad, but also she like was the one that like saved them at the end. So even like helped them get rid of magic, even though it basically doomed her.
Yeah, I know. It's like I really wish I didn't see like the bad scenes with her. It's like it felt like uncharacteristic of her, but at the same time, at the end of the world episode, yeah, she she more than well redeemed herself there in comparison to everyone else.
Yeah, if we're talking about characters ruined, it's the other two that were like they went from like, oh, they're entertaining to, oh, you guys are just freaking assholes.
Yeah, snake arms and
Snake arms. I hate him.
and the clock god and the clock god.
Yeah.
Though to be fair, Lekmed did seemingly got away with like still being okay by virtue of death. His character remains in the good by virtue of dying before he went evil. Would have had a chance to go evil.
Still.
Though to be fair, I think if Lekman was probably still alive, I get the sense that he would have probably cautioned them to not ally with Muni, like by virtue alone that she is freaking crazy.
That's true.
But Carlos, do you have your scene for us?
Gator. Come back. Also, I have mine if you need.
Yep.
Do we or do we not?
Do you what?
I'll just put it in.
Yeah, just put it in there. But you said just just give us a time code you want us to start at.
44, I guess.
All right, 44.
About there, I think. Yeah. It should be good.
All right.
Yeah, it's amazing like how these series can actually affect you this much, like how animated things can actually make you sad or happy or
Well, it's going right. This brings up my point I brought up is like the two biggest I feel memorable aspects of this show. Well, probably three. One, like I said, is Toffee will be remembered as a big villain.
Yes.
Two, the drama, which is very real for a cartoon, like very distinctly real, like emotional interpersonal conflict drama. And then the three is also just a meme parody potential of like it poking fun of cartoons. Carlos, do you have your video though ready? We'll start with Day, but we'll do yours right after that.
Well, I mean, like for me, like I have my video link chosen. Like, oh, I just need to go ahead and get the share link done. And done. Here it is.
All right, and just post it in a chat. We'll do Day Lovers first, and like just get at 44, then we'll jump into yours.
Okay, got it.
You said at 44?
Yes, 044.
Oh, Oh man, I wish it was done the other way around because then I'll see her video, and it happens after my scene.
All right.
Oh, interesting.
All right. Are you all ready though?
Yeah.
Hold up, a copy,
Alright.
and here we go. Oh wait, no, that's the adult Marco. No.
Yeah.
Copy and paste. Here we go. Okay, I'm ready.
Yes. Did you set it at 044?
044.
It's just so you don't get all of the stuff in the start. I've lost the right.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Ready?
Yes.
All right. Press play in 3, 2, 1, play.
Yay.
Okay. Mhm. Mhm. Ooh.
A little Sailor Moon-ish.
Yep.
Beautiful though.
And creepy distorted voice.
So creepy.
You get terrified. It's always like not looking back from it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Apocalyptic burst of a villain.
Bullfrog.
Yay!
Yeah, that was a
That
great
was it.
climax.
Yeah,
That was
just
my clip.
Goopa and Toffee there.
Yeah, like this is just the way you need to do your villains. Like how you to have to complete your villains, or how to say it. I was just like her getting the power, and I remember like the episode before this, like she was swimming in this dark goop and
Oh yeah,
trying
like
to find.
we'll get in that with Carlos's video from our
Oh,
scene.
is that Carlos's? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
so save that
I know what
discussion
I'm
part.
looking forward to then. But yeah, I just
Mhm.
really like this one. Like her getting her powers, and like the beautiful scenery of her getting her new gear
Her
and stuff like that.
her
Smiling.
smiling with a big grin
Yeah.
while she vaporizes the flesh off her enemies.
Yes, and just like that voice, it just gets me every time. Just like,
Aw.
hi, mom.
Also, it wasn't in this clip, but actually one of the most memorable lines of the show is just after this, where it's like, turns out you're dead.
Yes.
Yeah, it's from Ludo. Major
I
props
was
to
like, yeah,
Ludo.
Ludo's by far most memorable line, besides Wand, is like, turns out you're dead.
Mm.
Uh,
But I should have known like Gators was going to be the one before that, because like then I would have waited.
Yeah.
but
But it just shows that we
alright,
have good taste, right, Gator?
I mean, like for me, my choice was more for like the villain side, while yours was for
Oh
the
yeah,
good
yeah, yeah.
side.
That's true. That's true.
but I guess if you want, let's just jump straight into that one.
Mhm.
All right, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Press play in 3, 2, 1, play.
Yep. eldritch abomination of magic, Toffee.
Yeah.
And the fact that we would go back into this sort of tough situation for the series finale kind of showcases a lot.
He actually reminds me a little of like Ivan Ooze in this place.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Like Toffee has transcended monster kind.
Yeah, so intimidating that like you don't even recognize your own stuff. Mm-hmm.
The desperation and Star being a little plaything for the greatness of Toffee.
Yeah.
Oh my god. He's just like showboating at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of gross moments.
Yeah.
And this creepy scene. It's like, I had to turn around. I even come back with a suit.
Mm.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So serious, all of these episodes that we have here at the end.
Yeah. At the season 3. Oh, sorry, at the beginning of season 3. Just.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those powers.
Yeah, Marco. That was like, oh.
Oh yeah, to try.
Ooh.
Oh.
He's just like shoveling you into the dirt, not even doing anything extra.
Toffee just casually wrecking 4 different people. I guess he didn't really do anything with Buff Frog, but yeah, just wrecked 3 people. One just because of emotionally.
Other one physically because he answered it in back, and then like.
But actually, this brings up a good point. Let me see. When was besides Jen, like Jen's and Second's, like 3 of our videos are basically season 2.
Yes.
Our favorite clips things. Now technically,
mine is season 4.
Season 3 is technically the movie is part of season 3.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Just says
like
season 4 on the clip though, but yeah. Yeah, sure.
No, it was from the movie, which was in between seasons 2 and 3.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Episodically, like when the episode is split, it's 3, but story, that's why I said weird story things. It's essentially like season 2 got a really extended season. They just sort of ran some of those episodes into season 3. Like it's one of those things that's technically season 3, but in heart, this movie is season 2. And like I feel this was possibly like this stretch of things was like one of the, after season 2 got over its rough early patch, that until the end of the movie was like one of the best like sections of Starverses. I would say possibly its height. Though the final season does have there's a lot of good, very epic payoff moments too. And there's also the emotional thing with like Eclipsa. But I guess with our favorite scenes, though, we can go transition into, I guess, any final thoughts about Starverses.
Well, I had a great time with the show and like episodes. Although, like, I wish I could skip the gross ones, but that's just a minor nitpick from my side. But I think like it's worth watching. Like, if you're, as I said, if you like, for example, Steven Universe, or you like something a little more dark like Madoka Magica or what have we out there. Samurai Jack, I don't know. The newer Samurai Jack, I don't know. Like, I just think like it's really interesting, and it's really grown up series. As again, I'll say I wouldn't recommend it for like my 8-year-old, but like wait until like they're 15 or like in the teens and be like, okay, now I think like you can watch it. I don't know. Well,
it's
I liked it.
like yeah. Starverses is definitely like one of those shows that like when you get into it for like one reason, it's majorly like the reason that it carries itself through for you till like you finish watching it for that reason.
Yeah, that's true. When you first get started on it, you want to watch it all of it. That's for sure.
I mean, like if it's comedy, action, or drama, like depending on like your taste for like why you watch Starverses, that's what's gonna help you carry you to watch the show to see like the best of the best for that category.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
for
I
me,
get.
it was sorry.
Oh.
Yeah,
And for you, it was. Yeah.
I was going to say for me, it was like very much like the I guess it would be the drama because like Toffee was the one to Toffee and also like the Mumin Independence Day was like the big cause of like the drama to start that I really liked. It was very entertaining and very enriching to see like the main character go through something of like, I do not like where I come from.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, and her hoping to change things for the better, yeah.
I guess for me, like I said before, which I was going in like bringing up points, like I feel this, while it won't be like Steven Universe big, I think it will be known as one of the more cult classics.
Most definitely.
It really depends on. Again, like Carlos said, like I really like this is like this stylistic trend of this shows that like this is going to be in with like Owl House, Steven Universe, and all. Like this will be a style. I don't know how well it'll stack up, but I feel it will be a cult classic amongst those for 3 big reasons. One, I brought up as Toffee. He's just a very distinct good villain, and like as classic Disney has shown, we love a good villain. 2 is the drama. Like this show is very serious drama at times. Like not just a cartoon. Like it is straight up very more mature than a lot of like daytime drama shows. Like in terms of how it tackles racism, and just like emotional relationships and all that. Like it is very mature. It's like surprise. It's a Toffee surprise. It's actually a very mature show, which I feel that will be memorable just because it is a cartoon, but also it is one that does delve deep into emotional, deep dramas. And then the third thing, which is again going back I brought before, like just a meme potential. There's just a lot of like wacky segments and parts of this show, which like this will be a show where I feel like people are like, oh yeah, like a random clip will appear, and like people are like, oh yeah, that's from that show. Like that, I feel will be Star versus for like over a decade to come. Like, oh yeah, that show. When a random clip appears, like probably in reference to parodying Disney, because as the Disney empire spreads, like the parodies of it will become more famous.
Yeah. Almost like Futurama, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a good comparison, I guess. I don't think it'll be as necessarily big as Futurama, because,
No. Still
like in
will
the same way
have.
that before it was, because Futurama got revived a few different times and all, but like I feel it's in a very similar vein to, like you were saying, like there's a lot of just memorable memes of Futurama, which is like that's where a lot of people remember it. That's what sort of helped get it revived. Like even though like it was never nearly as big when it got revived and put onto Comedy Central and all that, but like it was just the meme potential of the show like helped it lived on, and I feel Star Versus will have a sort of a kids version of that.
Yeah.
But I guess any other final thoughts before we head off and eventually get back together for the Crush Your Girls final special?
Yeah, Crush Your Girls, yeah, specials. No, but yeah, I think like it's worth watching. Definitely.
It's definitely like one of those shows that like you can rewatch it and feel quite different after looking at the beginning.
Yeah, I should rewatch it again sometime. Maybe I will.
That actually brings another subject I was considering, is just like we rewatched the original episode of My Little Pony, like, but that's one thing I want to consider is actually eventually going through the whole season 1 and 2.
Oof.
Just like because we never technically reacted to those, but it's like this is just reflecting on those might be an interesting subject for another day.
Yeah,
just because it's
I think it's
so
going to be a
far
little
removed.
too much with like reacting to all of that. Ooh, there's a lot.
But I guess with that said, see y'all next time for whatever next time is.
And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year if I don't see you guys.
Probably Merry Christmas at this point.
Yeah, probably Merry Christmas, yeah. Yay!
Okay, second opinion here to give you my thoughts on Star versus the Forces of Evil. And with me here, once again, is Daylover to squint at and question the things I say, and I'm sure you'll appreciate her presence very much, actually. But okay, Star versus DC laid out some questions for me to answer because I couldn't be here. And first off, what do you feel Star versus' legacy will be in several years? How memorable? I think grammatically that should just be, what is Star versus legacy?
Picky.
Versus the Forces of Evil's legacy. Yes. How memorable? I almost wish I didn't have to give the answer I kind of do, because we had so much fun with this series. Watching it, it's like one of the slowly growing list of shows that I've technically kind of reviewed all the way through now.
Besides Steven Universe, right?
I haven't reviewed Steven Universe even a little bit. Watched it, haven't reviewed it. But yeah, I don't think Star Versus is going to be at the front of the pack of shows we remember from this generation. I actually think, memorability-wise, it's going to be pretty far down. And because, like, as much as it had that, anything can happen, creativity vibe going for it, like, it almost didn't know how to harness that fully to its advantages. I mean, what do you remember from the Star versus storyline?
A lot.
Such as?
Her getting her powers, newborn unicorn. That's my favorite scene.
Okay, so yeah, you have a scene.
And her being overcoming Toffee and killing him. That's awesome.
Yeah, she beats Toffee. But what's the story? You're talking about individual scenes. What's the story?
Oh, yeah. From the start, well, it depends on, like, it switches. So that's also why it's making it a little.
Yeah, see, like, there's a momentum there. Like, if you look at Gravity Falls, I can remember both several particular episodes and the ongoing story here. There's stuff that really makes it stick in your mind. It's like, the setting-wise, it's pretty comparable. The weird magical princess from another dimension where anything is possible, and the weird, mysterious town of Gravity Falls and such. But yeah, like the mystery of the journal and the how everything kind of builds on that. The question of who wrote the journals, the question of like how much power these a bad guy like Little Gideon can unleash for the forces of evil. Like
if Stan is really good or evil.
Yeah, and then how that like what his role is in this and how it all built up to the reveal of the author of the journals, and then to just how it used its setting in all of these memorable ways, like a Halloween episode with the creature, spoiler alerts, made of all the throwaway candy. I remember that. I remember
the tree one, but that was more because of Gunmetal Gator freaking out.
And the little gnomes and the little from the first episode, and Mermando and all that. Star Versus, okay, Magical Princess, Other Dimension, meets her friend Marco, and then Ludo, something, Toffee, something, Broken Wand. Like, I actually had to skim back. It wasn't until I was skimming back through the episodes, I was like, oh yeah, the Broken Wand was a thing for a while. Something, Toffee again, something, Meteora. I guess she technically was a thing before Eclipsa was, even though they hinted at Eclipsa too. And then that, so that isn't to say, to actually say, hey, I have the inside scoop on how memorable it's going to be. That is just my take on how memorable it is on its own. What people choose to latch on to for memorability, how many people, when they made Paprika, how many people thought that it was going to get at least minor infamy as the movie that technically inspired Inception, or there's just so many things that people reach into from the past to actually, when you think about it, this was kind of a shining example of such and such. What the Animaniacs and Tiny Toons and such, how they would together and sort of Freakazoid become an example of Warner Brothers Animation, pulling their talents to create a very particular flavor, which, although, heck, that, even at its time, was a very particular flavor. I think that you could see that coming more than you could see it coming for Star Versus.
Yeah.
Which honestly though, and I guess this kind of goes hand in hand on why I think 1 and 4 were the best seasons of Star Versus, because I thought it did best was just the anarchy, the sense of fun, the sense that anything could happen, just these really fun, likable characters who you loved having these adventures with, these very satisfying adventures with. That's where, 2 and 3 tried to do the growing up thing. It's like, aha, but the fun and that was just the beginning. Now we're going to do the very ambitious step of growing them, because it can't be all fun and games all the time. Sometimes you have to grow up, and you do. That is just kind of a different flavor, and it turned out that, the show was not quite so inspired at that. It pulled the love triangle gambit, and it invented 100,000 excuses for that to stay a thing, and, and it almost wasn't able to quite maintain the sense of off-the-wall fun while doing that. All of that stuff, some of its, several Broken Wand episodes and stuff, I don't know, just kind of, wanting something to happen really bad and it doesn't, angst, tension, all of that can be really powerful. Star, when it did that stuff, a lot of the time it just seemed to get stuck at tedious, which, and that's not, I feel like I'm starting out here by, talking down to it, and that's, not even fair, because it is still one of, the best animated shows of this generation, at least in, it has a rank on the list. It probably hit the top 10, top 15, however you like it. It deserves to be mentioned at least. It is an achievement, but, it's kind of like, okay, if we get all of the Oscar-winning movies in the lineup, it's like, okay, we're kind of starting from a high bar, and to treat that like the norm, it misconstrues it a bit. But his next question, that okay, that's all the he did, to be fair, list reasons negative why it might not be as memorable. DC asked for that first. Positive why it will be memorable or could be. I feel like if people look back to Star Versus for as a shining example of anything in particular, it would be the characters. Because I mean, more than a lot of shows I've seen right now, just on the subjects of okay, age, trends, what you're into, what you like, don't like, gender dynamics, and it's impossible to avoid that one since it's like become the ultimate sensitive hot button issue nowadays. And all of that, to its credit, very, very much, it never feels like those are dictating the story or that they're being ignored to the point where, or heck, not ignored at all, but especially not to the point where people have to feel like they got a raw deal, that, okay, they've been put in a box and, they have to, they don't get the satisfaction of seeing something that might personally resonate with them quite so much, because each and every one of the characters plain and simply feels like themselves. Like there is, like every single thing they do just feels like it's because that's who this character is. And I mean, while there was that one, like the guy having to construct the song about Star, what kind of princess she is, like, I'm not a regular princess. That like they weren't quite able to step quite so lightly there, be quite so light on their feet. They got a little ham-handed, a little heavy-handed on no, she's a radical princess of like, but I mean, what can you say about that? That's how songs they actually make about these characters are these days.
But we actually all agree, all of us, that we had one really memorable character. Can you guess who?
Well, I mean, reasons this would be remembered, I'm sure this isn't it. I would have to say Star, though,
No.
because I mean, she just like her design, it's like it doesn't feel like it's trying too hard to be anything. Okay, yeah, correct me on what the right answer was in a minute. Okay, well that too. Okay, but we'll go back to that. But yeah, Star, just like her person, like the way she takes joy in so many of the things she does, like when the things she does and doesn't get mad about that, when she has her quiet reflective moments, and when she is to totally roll with the punches. I mean, she feels, despite her larger than life weirdness sometimes, a lot of the time she feels real. She feels like she's just having fun. Like, I mean, she can think things are cute. She can think things are, radical. Off the, she can have fun in a fight. She can have fun, sitting on a couch, heels over head with Marco eating pancakes. It's, I mean, she, she likes what it makes sense that people, especially fun-loving people who, figure you may as well enjoy yourself, would like. So, I think, much as I hate to say it, an example of, like, gender dynamics and such, I feel like you could hold this show up as a very shining example of that. There's definitely elements here that I could see people drawing from as very strong. Like even the relationship between Star and Marco. Like, Marco just was what he was, a red belt with a neat, or almost like a type A anal retentiveness, who Marco, he feels like somebody you could totally know who would be, about at home and these otherworldly adventures happening. I mean, granted, they don't insist too much on realism, like otherworldly adventures. They have wish fulfillment reactions to those. Woo! time to go out and have some fun. Not, holy heck, what is happening? I could die at any minute on these. But, okay, so yeah, just, like, the character work, I feel like, is one of the big things you could hold Star versus up as a shining example of. As for Toffee, I mean, I feel like...
We all agreed that he was the best villain ever we have watched in any show. Because he doesn't monologue,
well, that kind of stuff is like supplementary points.
When he's like really intimidating, like you remember just the things, especially the goop one.
Yeah, no, Toffee, I mean, he,
that was Gator's favorite.
Yeah, like, I mean, in his archetype, he definitely has some competition. The patient, calculating, cunning, cool as a cucumber villain, just ice blood and ice water in his veins, who, is just very intimidating, doesn't, like, need to have too big a reaction to anything, but can show emotion. Yeah, he played, like, he's an example of that done very, very well. Like, I guess what would his competition be? Like Kingpin, for example, who is, a calm, commanding presence, like you see Kingpin in,
I think, like, the only one
Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, he's such a badass.
But the only one I can think about that could give him a little bit of competition was the Joker, maybe.
Yeah, well, Joker is he...
I'm sorry.
Well, he's calculating in a different way. He revels in all of the pain and misery because he's that for its own sake. He doesn't have a higher goal.
Toughy too.
Although, in fact, he's not unpredictable because, he keeps it to himself and he tells you what he thinks it's beneficial to him to tell you. Joker, he has just such an anarchic personality that he's just kind of hard to, like, his motivation even could change at any time because that's how he likes it. But I mean, yeah, I don't know, like Toffee, like he's, I feel, I don't know if he's the greatest animated villain I've ever seen or some such. In fact, that might be a discussion for another day. That's a very interesting question. But I feel like he's a very good example of what he is.
To have a villain versus and a heroes versus.
Sure.
That sounds fun.
So yeah, like Star versus I mean, honestly, like the single best thing in the show to hold up might just be the relationship between Star and Marco, even if they constantly put it off because they just wanted the show to end with the big they're together now. Isn't that the big emotional payoff?
I like the relationship with Tom.
I think they could have been more ambitious.
Yeah.
Star's relationship with Tom.
Yeah, because it ends like really grown up and.
Well, I'm not talking about handling a relationship. I'm just talking about their dynamic together, like Tom and Star. Actually, their dynamic was kind of all of the reasons they should not be a couple. Star doesn't like that he whistles in elevator. Like, Tom actually has a more, once you get to know him, it's almost odd. He has, like, almost like a little bit of a sweet guy personality and a little bit, in some ways even more than Marco, a little bit like milquetoast, but not to the point where it overwhelms him, to the point where he's just not like in your face energy, antics, anything like that. Like he's he's like the sweet guy who can feel who actually like bottles up his rage in the wrong ways at first in a lot of ways. But I mean, so, in fact, honestly, I might argue that Marco and Tom had more chemistry than Star and Tom. Like, their love-hate becoming mostly just love relationship was actually pretty compelling in a lot of ways. But yeah, Star and Marco, just these... But, I mean, they're, like, so, like, adorable together in a, like, fun-loving, energetic way, not in a Ruby and Sapphire, like, say sweet things to each other or have just these gentle, quiet interactions kind of a way to, hey, what should we do today? But, like, or just, like, getting what the other one, I mean, I don't know, just getting to know them over the seasons, you could just see an image of them doing something together and almost like feel it, like, okay, yeah, that's a one-of-a-kind friendship there where you know that you don't even really have to talk about it so much, just like, hey, let's throw on our PJs and eat pancakes on the couch watching TV, like, or, but yeah, just like how they were, yeah, like, closer than words almost, and just, yeah, didn't need to comment on it, just had a lot of fun together, so, like I said, the characterization at the center of it, I feel like you could hold that up. I don't know if it entirely knew what to do with it to make it as a whole, as, yeah, memorable and, like, worthy of, yeah, holding up now and forever as, what, Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, Adventure Time, I've only seen a few episodes of so far, but, yeah, and, I mean, MLP, just the sheer novelty of what it was, I mean, like, before I even think about it, yeah, that's gonna be remembered for a long time, but, yeah.
It also had our fan base, though.
Yeah, Star Versus, I feel like it's kind of headed for that cult territory where the people who latched on to what it did best are gonna hold it up there. I don't know if it's, headed for, like, okay, and here in Gen X and the all-time classics, we have Animaniacs and Beavis and Butthead, and here in Gen Y, we have SpongeBob and Adventure Time, and, like, and here back in the Boomers, we have Looney Tunes and, or Scooby-Doo, depending on, well, actually, I guess Looney Tunes would be more Silent Generation, and then we have Scooby-Doo and Flintstones, like, okay, yeah, I don't know if Star Versus is ever going to be right at the top of anybody's list, unless anybody hearing this decides that they're going to personally make it theirs just to, like, shut me up. So.
That's tempting. No, just kidding.
Oh, too late, they already want to now. So yeah, so Star Versus, it's like, yeah, one of those really fun shows that deserves to be on, ranked lists from this generation, deserves to be remembered, is probably not going to be, like, one of those shows that you remember without having to think about it, or have any of those elements that you remember without having to think about it, except maybe Star herself. I feel like, okay, the princess who's not a typical princess, I might have never seen that done more right than it was with her, but okay,
specific scenes and stuff like that.
Yeah. And yeah, favorite scene is how we're going out here. You saw in the video that mine was the fairy fight. The fairy wants to marry Marco's friend, and they, no! You're only 14! You draw faces on your stomach and make it talk! You're really not ready for this! And he does the whole, I'm sorry, I didn't think this through. We can't be together. And she smiles and says, kill them all. And, or not even in, like, that deliberately sarcastic, or, like, I'm not being sarcastic, but I am way, but, like, just, like, I don't know, she makes it sound like she's genuinely, like, okay, well, that's what makes me happy now, killing them all. I analyze things too much. Okay, and then, yeah, they have the big, glorious fight scene with, yeah, just, that whole episode culminating in that moment, like, this, like I said, I think just the anarchic, I think that's how you say it when it's in that tense. Yeah, that type of fun is what Star Versus did the best, just like that's the thing it latched onto and arguably tried to build too many things on top of that didn't fit quite as well, or at least not as designed by these writers. But yeah, like, that absolutely, another dimension, they're trapped working in these mines while the tubby unpopular friend gets the fairy girl, and then, wait, okay, you can't actually marry at 14, and then, okay, fairy who actually wants to eat him just says, kill them all, and you get just this big, fun-loving fight, and I mean, there's not even, like, a little bit of tediousness or, like, yeah, difficult emotions there, it's just, yeah, it's the adventure of the day, and it's glorious. A sword fight with Star using something the shape of a baby rattle to swashbuckle with these fairies, and I mean, it's staged so well, it's, you know, it's completely, I think, a perfect example of how anything can happen, and it can be fun and exciting, and just a general joy, and a great day in the life thing that doesn't need to come back again. That's, yeah.
Actually, something I did remember after watching that episode was like Star had a lot of things that she could use in the earlier episodes. She had more blasts, different kinds of like ice blast, spider, whatever.
Yeah, like they...
Go bubble beam and stuff like that, where I'm just like, no, she only has like, what, 3? 2?
The strawberry shake, well, like lots of animals, and occasionally a strawberry shake. Well, the wand, to be fair, like spells like Levitato, it was implied that there were plenty of spells that you might only have to use a couple of times and never again, although...
But then the spider one, I wanted to see that again.
Spider with the top hat.
Yes,
oh, he showed up a couple of times, like... he was set up as almost the best one. If he was the answer every time, like, they probably would have just started spamming him.
Against Toffee, it could have been nice to see him one last time.
Yeah. Well, was he even... He was, like, introduced alongside the Toffee arc, wasn't he? Like, he showed up after that, I think. Toffee was...
Maybe.
Toffee was beginning of season 3 was his death. Okay, but yeah. Although, that freezing spell, come to think of it, she uses on the fairies might have been useful at some other point.
And of course, there's the Queen. The Queen has that special spell that goes in her veins.
Yeah. But I mean, like, even, the spells, they didn't have to worry too much about, okay, which one was which, like, the... Yeah, it was a magic wand that could, like, it had a bunch of different spells that, I mean, weren't God mode spells, but, that just different ones to get different jobs done, just, It was, something that totally fit the scene, and you didn't need to think too much about the thing itself. Like, I guess, like I've already said, that's the specific rules of what does what. That's sort of a different kind of appeal, and it's an ambitious move to try to, like, weave that in, try to have both, but I mean, I felt like, that's... Well, if Star had pulled that off, it probably would be one of the single best shows of this generation, and I mean, instead just all the things it tried to weave in again, same effect, something, prejudice, something, the mom's the bad guy, but she's not, but whatever, destroy all magic, like...
I just suddenly remember the old theme is, like, humans and monsters are going to be fitting together, right?
Exactly, you just remembered that, and that wasn't even really the note it ended on so much as just, like, combine the worlds,
and
destroy...
start growing up.
Yeah. And I think why season 4 is my other favorite, though, is because the bit about, okay, now Eclipsa's in charge, like, that was a pressing conflict, but, like, in the sense of Toffee joining Ludo's brigade and he's up to something, what's gonna happen was, like, it didn't, like, there was still room for just the fun that these friends had to get, like, the adventures they would go on, except this time on Star's homeworld instead of... bringing it to Earth, like that kind of shifted back into the driver's seat again, just, okay.
Yes.
The adventures of the day and, building this friendship dynamic and stuff. I almost wondered if they realized, okay, if we're going to close out, we've got to reestablish that again. And it was, season 4 is where I think all my other favorite episodes come from. In fact, I could have tried harder, zero in on, like, okay, like, this... is that one scene that really just hit me right there, man. Just felt it so much. But actually, I kind of felt like going with the fairy scene, the first one I remember when I think of the off-the-wall fun I had with this show. Like, that's the first one that comes to mind. A lot of the time, I think it's one of the...
it was, right? It was for fun.
Great examples. But, like, the Star brand of fun, like, so many of these episodes were great for so many different reasons, but just, like, the adventures they can fall into, and how, you didn't have to, like, worry too much about the consequences of each one. It was just, like, the world was bringing random chaos on you, just, go along for the ride, kind of an appeal. I mean, it was, like, the creative possibilities were endless. I actually almost wished that they'd gone the route of trying to push that even further instead of And like, okay, but how can we grow this up now? Because I felt like that would have been playing to their biggest strengths a lot more. Which, and not to say that seasons 2 and 3 were in any way bad. They're pretty good in their own right, and they brought stuff that is now irrevocably part of the appeal of Star Versus to the table. But yeah, I felt like they were the less successful side of the experiment.
Conclusion. That was the last thing.
Yep. The last thing he asked for was a conclusion, and I felt like with my whole monologue, I already worked the conclusion in there, so I don't think we really need that. Conclusion is, seasons 1 and 4, rock on, and Star Versus.
Season was, or episodes were in season 4 as well.
Yeah, and Star Versus, it's going to be something I'm going to be really fond of looking back on, even if it's not the first show that's going to come to mind when I think of fun animated shows.
So.
Over and out.